You must have had some big-time winners that emerged from yesterday's coverage.
Well, first off, it was electric here last night. You had the defensive line and the linebackers going, and we started around 3 o'clock. We didn't end till around 10. So there was 7 hours, and it felt like it was electric every single drill. Let me give you the 5 biggest winners right off the top. Guys, you ready? Here are the 5 biggest winners from day one of the Combine. Number 1, I'm going with one of the fastest players on the field yesterday. It's a defensive end out of Tennessee, James Pierce. This guy come out of here, and you look at his 40-yard dash. Pierce was electric. 4.47. Breaks the 4.5. And doing so, guys, in the James Jones hoodie. Yes, wore a hoodie throughout this thing, which was so cool, so different. A little bit of swag to him. Pierce turning heads, and then when he finished the 4.47, the entire defensive line group erupted. You could tell he was a really well-liked player in this position group, and he was someone that scouts were texting me afterwards. All right, first-round pick. Has the tape, has the production, was a really solid player at Tennessee, and then put together this Combine performance. How about another player? How about Shamar Stewart, somebody that Cody Kessler mentioned on our show yesterday that he was looking forward to seeing? Shamar Stewart comes out here and jumps a 40-inch vertical jump, and then jumps the vertical, then does the broad jump for like he does it, and then the 40-yard dash, 4.59. This is a guy who weighs 270 pounds, has an 84-inch wingspan. Now remember, there's a lot of questions about his tape. This guy only had 3.5 sacks last year. They say, well, where's the tape? Where's the production? Guess what? Chop Robinson last year at Penn State, his final season, had 4 sacks. He was quite all right as a first-rounder for the Dolphins. There are going to be a lot of debates. Production versus Combine performance for Shamar Stewart. He took care of the Combine performance last night. How about the big fella out of Oregon, Derek Harmon? Was at Michigan State the first couple of years of his career. Goes over to Oregon as a transfer student. Has a great season. This is a guy who weighs 315 pounds and ran a sub-5 40-yard dash. At 315 pounds, wingspan 83 inches, has huge hands. Did not do the vert, did not do the broad. I'll run my 40. You can see me there. The big fella had a great day. We'll give you another player. Out of Boston College, this is the Ted Hendricks Award winner. How about Donovan Aziraku? I'm sorry if I butchered it. I have trouble with some of these names, but no one's going to have trouble in his name when he is mentioned at the NFL draft. Why do I mention him? His 3-cone drill. Quickest among all defensive linemen at the entire Combine. Ran it in 6.94. Also, 83-inch wingspan. Huge arms. And a player that was moving yesterday, the top at the 3-cone drill, might have solidified himself as a first-round pick. Oh, by the way, great kid, too. Anyone who talked to him said they loved interviewing him. And our last one might be one of my favorite players I got to know yesterday. This is Landon Jackson out of Arkansas. Landon Jackson, a pass rusher out of Arkansas who was a burner in the 40, ran a 4.68. But here is where we have to give him love. The vert. 40.5-inch vert. This was the broad. He does it just about 9. But this right here, 40.5-inch vert for his size. Guys, only one player as a defensive lineman broke 40 inches in the vert last year. It was Dallas Turner, who was a first-round pick of the Minnesota Vikings. Landon Jackson came out here. Now, you see him, you say, okay, this is a guy, is he a linebacker? Is he a pass rusher? He's an athlete, and there's a guy who could play. He's also a real grown man. It's a guy who's married. It's another guy who's obviously been through a lot. He's got alopecia, which is something that we've talked about on the show before. This is someone that we know, Charlie Villanueva from UConn. He talks about it openly here, and then Landon Jackson was talking about what it meant in his life to go through that and the people that helped him get through that. An incredible young man, an adult, a husband, and someone who ran well and then jumped 40.5 inches. Stole the show last night. Stacey Dales gets us the slow-mo from her Twitter. Here's a little sizzle of all of the 5 guys, as these were my players last night, and there are so many others that showed up. This is a defensive line draft. Everyone's telling you that, and a lot of the top ones didn't even work out. We didn't see Abdul Carter. We didn't see Mason Graham. We didn't see Kenneth Grant. So you know what? Here's 5 players who said, bring it, I'll compete, and they showed out. Bring it back to the table. Jamie Erdahl, it was a great first day at the Combine. Here are my 5 winners, but I know there's others that you guys loved watching last night.
The interview with Kimmy Chex after his workout. And as you know, one of my daughters has alopecia. So to listen to Landon Jackson speak on how his parents raised him through this, I was sitting on the edge of my seat listening to how you can create and produce a young man of this stature, but also of that character. Dealing with alopecia is a real thing as a child, but the fact that he grew up and really is going to become a cornerstone of an organization, and there is probably not many young men better than him to have in your building. So I think that's a tremendous story. And then for him to show out at the Combine and make Peter's list today is a really cool thing. Cody, that was a great list out of Peter. You can feel the juice in his voice.
Absolutely. Yeah, huge shout out to Landon Jackson. But I've been here for a week, but I really feel validated when the guy I picked yesterday, Shamar Stewart, is on Peter Schrager's top 5 standouts from the Combine. So I feel pretty good about that. And the other thing I'll say, too, is, you know, when you get done playing as a quarterback, a lot of people ask you, do you miss playing football? Do you miss playing the game? Well, I go watch James Pierce run a 4.40 and Shamar Stewart run a 4.5, and then I remember why I retired. You know, I don't like those guys chasing anymore, but huge shout out to those guys. It's a good feeling when you go out there and accomplish what you set out to accomplish.
Yeah, to your point, Cody, James Pierce running out there in that hoodie, the way that he ran and his smile that he had on his face at the 30-yard line as he's finishing that 40. And then you have questions about, does that translate over to the athletic stuff? Can he change direction? And you watch that clip that Peter had on there as he's going through the bags, he's going laterally, then he's going forward and back, forward and back. And the thing I love the most about when you watch him run and you watch him do these drills is he's at one pad level the entire time. Just watch how he approaches these change of direction marks. There's no hesitation. There's no stutter stepping. It's just make a decision and go. And there's going to be a lot of decisions that he's going to have to make in the NFL. And by the way that he performed yesterday, I have no doubt in my mind that he's going to have success if he continues to do so.
Peter, let me ask you a question. You mentioned this about one of your guys from your list and how there are certain, second-round guys that all of a sudden, after a day like they had yesterday in front of GMs and coaches, you get texts in real time that say that guy just combined himself into a first-day draft pick. That's really cool.
Yeah, look, Jamie, it's an honor to have all these general managers texting me throughout these drills, and it's an honor to come on the show and share, where it's real. Guys come in here, and they're like, I've seen the production. I've been watching this guy's tape for 3 years. I've been on the road. I've seen him in person 3 times. We've now interviewed him. We've now weighed him. If he's a 4.6, 4.7 40, he's probably a second-round pick. Then he goes out there and runs a 4.4 or 4.5, and do so in the Combine. Now, at the pro day, things are a little bit more curated for their liking. It's on their terms. It's in their home. Combine, everybody's equal. I tell you, I know a lot of guys did not compete last night, and there's going to be a lot of players who don't. That's their own choice. I don't spite them for that. Do what you got to do. But to go out there and have a day like James Pierce or Shamar Stewart or our guy Landon Jackson had, it does matter. And to put up numbers that are better than expected, I'll give you one story. Justin Jefferson was here. It was that COVID year. It was right before the pandemic. We were all here, and everyone thought Justin Jefferson was going to run a 4.6, 4.7 40. Speed was not his thing. Came out there, ran a 4.39. It's like, all right, he's a first-round pick. You can't deny that. And look where he is now. So, Jamie, it's real. You can change your life if you compete in the Combine, and you have an incredible performance in front of these scouts.
Okay, so Peter's boots on the ground for us, but we all know that we ingested the coverage yesterday from the comforts of our own home here in L.A. Cody, you have anybody that you want to add to Peter's list for Combine guys?
Yeah, I want to shout out UCLA linebacker Kane Medrano. He is the definition of taking advantage of your opportunity. He did a great job yesterday, 38-inch vertical. He went out there, went 10 feet 5 inches in the broad jump. Looked great, too, on the field. Looked like a true athlete. He did the wave drill where it's sideline to sideline, back pedal. Here it is right here, and then come downhill. Has great ball skills. Did a great job catching it, too, and they're throwing it to him. But where he separated himself yesterday and made his money was in the 40-yard dash. He went out at 6'3", 220 pounds, and ran a 4.46 40-yard dash, which led everybody yesterday with defensive linemen and also the linebackers. This is so important for Medrano, though, because he was viewed as an undersized type of a linebacker, very lean, very lanky at 6'3", but only 220 pounds. But what this does for coaches and defensive coordinators and GMs, it says this guy is very versatile. This guy can be a hybrid type player. I wouldn't be surprised now if Medrano gets some opportunities at safety or some of these different packages. He comes in and plays in these dime packages to where he can cover these better athletes, these receivers, some of these pass catching tight ends. So Medrano, take a bow. That was a great performance yesterday on the field.
Peter?
Yeah, so look, this Carson Schlesinger, who I talked about yesterday, was getting all the love as far as a linebacker at UCLA.
Yeah.
Medrano comes out, runs the fastest 40. Everyone's loving him. Cool story about him. You guys will love this. In high school, not only played football, but he was the best track athlete in the state of Colorado. He won the 2019 High School Colorado Male Athlete of the Year, and it was because he was the best football player and he was the best track athlete. 6 years at UCLA. They loved him there, and he showed out yesterday. Again, Cody, great call, and he's a story that we're going to be following as we head into the draft in April.
Cody, great call because as a linebacker, I know Peter had all D linemen and D tackles, and rightfully so, Peter. I love that. But, you know, I was watching the linebackers. I thought that Kaiser had a great showing at the Combine. Francis Mauingoa had a great showing at the Combine. But, guys, I talked about him yesterday. Jihad Campbell from Alabama. If he doesn't go in the first round, guys, I don't know. I don't know what else to say.
What are we doing?
Like, what are we doing? Like the guy in his 40 had a 4.52, his 10-yard split, and these are the numbers that really mean something to me. His 10-yard split was 1.53. It was the third fastest time. The fastest time was just 1/100th of a second faster. Explosive. He reached almost 23 miles per hour, which is the second fastest that a linebacker ran yesterday. And his broad jump was 10 foot 7 inches, which is the second yesterday. Now, he was explosive. Now, these are the drills that I really want to dial in on. Cody, I'm going to need your help a little bit.
Oh, they're getting up.
I'm going to get up.
Please.
So when you watch these drills, okay, a lot of times when you're on the field, you're going to have these guys that when they're watching the coach, and they anticipate by his mannerisms that the coach is going to redirect him another way, that they're going to start to stutter step or hesitate. Jihad Campbell all day long, when coach said to go to his left, he was going to the left as if he wasn't going to be redirected. But when he was redirected, you saw him at 6'3", 240 pounds, put his foot in the dirt and move. That is something in the game, and you know this, Cody, that really translates well. If I'm a hook defender and I'm dropping back, I don't know where you're going to turn. I don't know what receiver you're looking at. Everything is predicated off of you. Jihad Campbell yesterday, in my opinion, demonstrated that he has the skills not only to run a 40, change direction, but stuff that actually translates on the field, that translates into all the tackles he made in college, all the interceptions he made in college. And it's a nightmare. You mentioned it yesterday. You don't like linebackers that can go sideline to sideline and move when you move. And yesterday, when I saw this young man perform on the field in those drills, those are the things that stood out to me. And I'm like, if he doesn't go in the first round, what are we doing? Because this guy is generational.
I'm just happy you didn't hit me right there, Manti. I was sitting there waiting for it. But to your point, when you have a linebacker with no wasted movement, it is very difficult. What you were saying right there, when they drop in that flat zone, that curl flat area, and I'm trying to manipulate you to go this way, and then I want to work to the flat, but that linebacker can put his foot in the ground and get there in time and make a play on the football. It is a nightmare for opposing quarterbacks. That's a great point.
Peter, I always think it's a good refresher this time of year, too, to what Manti was saying. Like, there are coaches out there running these drills. Just make sure to remind everybody who those people are, and maybe when you're watching their body language of how impressed they might be with a guy like Jihad Campbell in these drills.
It's a great question. Like, Joe Barry was running the linebacker drills. Joe Barry's the defensive coordinator of the Dolphins. So, like, you have real people. This is, like, real guys that are out there. And, of course, all the coaches that are out there watching. But I'm down there on the field, and it's talking with Sean Payton. We're watching Jack Sawyer do his drills. And, like, that's real. That is up close and personal. And I asked Payton, you know, some coaching staffs, we know McVay and Shanahan, they don't do the combine. I said, Sean, you've been here since Saturday. He goes, I need to see it. I need to feel it. I need to be there up front. So a lot of these coaches do still value being in the building and being able to touch and grasp and actually see these guys up close as they're all working out on an even playing field.
Manti, another guy on Peter's list, Donovan Ezeraku out of Boston College. How important is it? You're going to assume a guy at Boston College, Peter said he's like a great guy. He's been impressing in meetings and really smart football player. At his position, why has it become that an edge rusher needs to be as bright, one of the brightest guys on the football field?
If you don't have an edge, you're dead. That's the term that we use on defense. No edge, you're dead. Because he's the guy that sets, especially when you're going to get, you mentioned Sean McVay, you mentioned all of these, Kyle Shanahan, all of these West Coast offenses where everything is stretch left, stretch right, stretch left, stretch right. Okay, now if I'm on that side of the stretch, can I set that edge? Can I stop that thing from continuing to widen a little bit? And then vice versa, if I am the DN on the other side, Am I smart enough? Do I have the discipline enough to not turn my shoulders perpendicular to the line of scrimmage and chase after something? Because how many times have we seen, Jamie, a running back cut back, and the D end on the other side isn't disciplined, he isn't smart, he isn't doing his job, and he makes these and these running backs make these highlight plays. It is so important for these players not only to show their athletic ability, but to show how disciplined they are and how smart they are. Those are the things that translates over to the football field.
Stand up and make a name for yourself if you're not working out at the Combine. Those are just some of the couple names that you want to keep an eye on this weekend. But we also have some that we want to add to the pile. Guys, let's go around the table. Round one, Peter, you start us off. Who are you most excited to see in the next 100 hours or so from Indianapolis?
Well, I love that Tyler Warren interview. It's not often in 2025 you ask a player, why he wears a jersey number, and he references Super Bowl MVP from 1983. I love that. I also like to ask all the coaches who their favorite interview was during the week of interviews. And sometimes it's the off-the-wall, zany, big personality kids. And there's others that it's like, I want this guy to marry my daughter. And that player is Emeka Egbuka out of Ohio State, the wide receiver who was so dynamic this season. 81 catches, 1,000 yards, and throughout the college football playoffs was the go-to guy. Now, look, we know that Ohio State has so many great wide receivers in the NFL right now, and we can go through the history of Ohio State receivers going back to the late Terry Glenn, and then after him to Joey Galloway and to whoever else you want to go through. But the truth of the matter is, you go through this player's highlights and you go through this player's reel, consistency, consistency, consistency. And then the interview process, he was so good. So look, wide receivers, they're going Saturday. I've been told it's not the craziest wide receiver draft as far as top tier talent. So whereas last year and the years prior, we've seen Jamar Chases and Justin Jeffersons and CeeDee Lambs, and last year Malik Neighbors and Harrison Odunze. I don't think there's that guy there this year. This might be the top wide receiver taken in the draft. Emeka Egbuka, also the best interview all week from multiple coaches. So I'm going with that young man out of Ohio State.
Yeah, I'm sticking with quarterbacks. I would like to see Quinn Ewers out of Texas put on a great show. He has an opportunity to thrive in this environment, right? And everyone's talking about Cam Ward and Shedeur Sanders, 1 and 2, rightfully so. After that, I have Jackson Dart kind of sitting in that third spot, but really 4 through 7 is wide open. And even 3, I'm not solidifying Dart at 3. Quinn Ewers has a chance to be that guy. And why I say he can thrive in this environment, because he has one of the best arms in this draft, right? You put on the game film, and you can see it here on your screen, just NFL throw after NFL throw after NFL throw. He does a great job on the run. He can roll to his right. He can roll to his left and make those high-level throws. But where he struggled this year a little bit was with his consistency and his confidence. And what I mean by that is there was times he was hesitant to pull the trigger where he just wanted to see it come open instead of just throwing it and trusting his guys. And there's times that he would lock on and trust his arm a little too much. And when you do that, you start throwing into heavy traffic. You start putting your receivers into those collision positions, and they start getting in trouble. So this is an opportunity for him this week to go out there, stay in rhythm, and just let it rip and remind these coaches what type of arm he has. And when coaches see that as an offensive coordinator and, okay, look, you have all the arm talent, I can work on the rest of the stuff between the years when you get here at our organization and get inside of our offense.
There seems a shift on our show a little bit. We've been talking defensive all week long, and I'm going to follow the shift. We're talking offense now. The guy that I'm looking at is Tetairoa McMillan. We talked about him earlier in the week. Receiver out of Arizona. He's getting the comp from Drake London. He's a first-team All-American, first-team All-Big Ten Biletnikoff finalist. He set the record for most receiving yards at the University of Arizona with 3,423 yards. Finished third all-time for TDs with 26. But there's been some questions in 2024 about his health. A lot of scouts have said that I think the 2023 year is a better year to kind of gauge where this guy is, what type of receiver he is. And then there has been questions about his lack of horizontal off the press, his horizontal movement that could lend him to some issues with some of these physical DBs that we saw him especially with Philadelphia. Can he get off the press? A lot of times when you have these top tier talents, the combine is almost a risk because, man, you lend yourself vulnerable to a lot of criticism and showing your weaknesses. However, in Tetairoa's situation, I think his ability in the 5-10-5 to show his horizontal quickness, his ability in the 40 to work on his speed. It says that he lacks speed in the drive phase. Well, the first 10 of that 40 is that drive phase. So if he's able to clock a really good time in that 10-yard split and in that 40 and then show some horizontal quickness, I think this combine should be good for him.
I have another wide receiver that I want to talk about, and this one hails from Canada. Go to Montana, North Dakota, go straight north to Medicine Hat, Alberta, and that is where my guy Alec Iomanner out of Stanford hails from. That's where he was born. Not a lot of Canadian wide receivers that can make a name for themselves this weekend in the combine, and that is what Alec can do. Now, he's kind of green when it comes to his statistics. If you want to look at his NCAA performance, just 2 years worth of games at Stanford, but the wide receiver has awesome hands and he's got a great build to him. He played at Deerfield Academy in Massachusetts. He caught 12 touchdowns over 2 years. So if you want to, jump off the page with the statistics in college, that's not going to be there. But you want to watch him this weekend. He's a great pass catcher. He has a tremendous story. His mom is one of these, Peter, arm wrestling ladies. Okay, so you got strength in the family. He is currently ranked the number 3 player in the CFL draft, which also happens at the end of April. But I think Alec Iomanner can make a name for himself, and he won't make it to the CFL draft. Peter, round 2. Who do you got?
I love that, Jamie. I don't have my CFL big board ready yet. Although if anyone knows, I am a Winnipeg Blue Bomber fan. I know. Sorry, not supposed to be biased. That is my team. Okay, let's go to another player. I'm going to go to the running back position. Ashton Jeanty, of course, ran for 2,600 yards at Boise State. He's the story. He's not going to be working out. We're hoping we see a Marion Hampton out of North Carolina. Belichick stole all the headlines in the fall, but guess what? The best player at that program is no longer there. It's this guy. Hampton had more than 280 carries of the ball the last 2 years. A true workhorse, but also has so much left to give. Everyone I speak with is saying, hey, you put Jeanty as your 4th prospect. Where'd you put Hampton? So, it is a 2-back conversation. It's not just Ashton. This guy could actually go ahead of him. I remember a couple years back, and it was Edgerrin James who went before Ricky Williams, and that shocked a lot of people. But it's whatever you prefer. They're different kinds of running backs. A couple years ago, Jahmyr Gibbs went a couple picks after Bijan Robinson. Again, 2 running backs at the top of this draft class. Jeanty from Boise State is the perennial favorite. This is the other guy, and if you look at him, the body type is right, the workload is right, the production is right, and he's been meeting with teams and has been doing really well out here. So, Marion Hampton, sorry, Belichick, you can't get your hands on this guy. He's going to the pros.
Yeah, I'm sticking with running backs just like Peter. I'm going Woody Marks out of USC. Marks spent his first 4 years of college at Mississippi State, and then he transferred over to USC to come join the Trojans. I had the luxury of watching him all last year. He was the MVP of this USC offense. He is one of the best playmakers at the running back spot in this draft. He's a great runner, has great vision, great patience. He allows the blocks to happen. Then he puts his foot in the ground and gets north and south. Not a lot of wasted movement, but where he can excel this weekend at the draft is out of the backfield. As a receiver, out of the backfield, he had 261 receptions, 1,500 yards, and 5 touchdowns in his college career. He was a weapon through the air, right? And when you get to the draft or you get to the combine, in these situations, you can showcase that, right? They're going to run some wheel routes. They're going to run some option routes. They're going to run those angle routes. If he can go out there and put on a show in that pass-catching period, offensive coordinators are going to see that and say, okay, this is a 3rd down back. I don't need you to come in and be a starter. You can be the number 2, number 3 back, and in obvious passing situations on 3rd down, you can go out there and be an extra weapon in the pass game. So I expect Woody Marks to have a big showing this weekend, and hopefully it'll help him elevate his draft stock.
I love that story about Alec Iomanner.
Iomanner.
I love that story. Another guy who I love his story is Jimmy Horn Jr. I've loved if you don't know his story, he's been without his father for a few years now. His father got into some trouble. You could look it up for yourself. But this kid transferred to Colorado and has been a weapon for Deion Sanders. But when I look at him and his play, let me know, Shregs. He reminds me of Hollywood Brown. He's very savvy in his route running. He's quick. He's not afraid to catch the ball across the middle. For somebody his size, that's why he reminds me of right across the middle, making yards after the catch. I'm really excited to see this guy compete. He's kind of one of those under-the-radar guys that I think don't have a lot of spotlight on him, but I think if he's able to go out there and do what he needs to do and do what I think and I believe he's able to do, he'll have a good showing out there at the Combine.
Not a lot of spotlight on the guy. There is not a position in college football that I think has more spotlight on it than if you go to Notre Dame and you are a quarterback. So when you are a quarterback coming out of Notre Dame, your life and your biography ends up on People magazine. This is a real headline from People.com about Riley Leonard. all about Riley Leonard's parents, Chad and Heather Leonard, and the 2 words his mom texts him before every game. You think you're going to get a feel-good story about Riley Leonard and his parents in this article? No. Heather Leonard texts her son, Riley, you suck before every game. But that was a loving you suck. Yes. When Riley was in high school, Peter, he said, I have all these expectations. I don't know why. I need someone to tell me I suck sometimes. And as any mom knows, you will do anything for your child. And Riley Leonard's mom said, son, I got you. And before every game, she texts Riley Leonard, you suck. And it motivates him, Peter. This is a certain kind of love language in the Leonard family that I'm here for. And if you don't think that on Saturday when Riley Leonard is going to be thrown at the combine and participating, that she's going to text him, son, love you, you suck. Peter, I love that caught you off guard.
That is so good. It's so good, Jamie. And I love the parenting side of it, but I also love the fact that you understand as a Notre Dame quarterback, you've been a name that everyone's been following, especially the season they had. There are so many of these quarterbacks that we have watched so much of them play in college football. So whereas we might not get Shedeur working out, we've watched Riley Leonard at Duke. We've watched Riley Leonard at Notre Dame. We've seen Kyle McCord at Ohio State. We've seen Kyle McCord at Syracuse. And then you go through the list of different names, and it's like Quinn Ewers. I feel like I've been watching him since high school. There are so many different quarterbacks that will be competing that were household names in the college game, Jackson Dart included. So, Jamie, you suck, but in the most endearing way possible. I throw it back to you.
As it's time for 3 and Out on our show on GMFB right now. We're going to start with, as Peter called it, the exciting action on Saturday in Indianapolis. It's the quarterbacks, wide receiver, running backs group. But, Peter, let's start with that position, the Cam Wards of the group walking down the hallway. Which quarterback do you think can help themselves with their workout on Saturday, and having it be top-notch?
I think the coolest conversation I've been having here in Indianapolis is who's number 3. So it's pretty much assumed that Cam Ward and Shedeur Sanders, and you might want to toggle those two, who's 1, who's 2, are the top 2 quarterbacks, and they've been that the entire draft process. But who's number 3? There's so many different names. And one of them that I've been talking about the entire week that I think is going to have an excellent performance is Jackson Dart out of Ole Miss. Jackson Dart spent his first year at USC, then transferred to Ole Miss where he was the starter for 3 straight years. He's got this great way about him where it's not cocky, but it is also like he knows he's the man. And I think that's been felt by a lot of these teams. Loves ball, loves talking ball, and they love the fact that he played so many games in college and did so at the SEC and really took Ole Miss the past 2 years to 2 of their best seasons they've had in decades. Now, does he have the arm strength? Does he have the speed? Does he have the agility? All that stuff is why we're going to be working out, and he is going to go through the drills. So I'm excited to see what Jackson Dart can do. Without Shedeur and without Cam on the field, go own the day. I remember Justin Herbert doing just that when Burrow and Tua were not working out at this combine in 2020. Justin Herbert was by far the most impressive quarterback on the field, and he was the 3rd quarterback taken. Jackson Dart, go and own the day Saturday. You have that opportunity. Go and do what we've done the last 2 years at Ole Miss, which is just play wonderful football and lead young men.
Yeah, I'm going with Jalen Milroe. I think he has the most important performance this Saturday, right? One of the best athletes in this entire draft. And I know he's going to test well. You're going to see him run the 40 well. That's just the type of athlete he is, the 3-cone, the vertical, the broad jump. But where he can make himself some money and solidify himself as a top 5 quarterback in this draft is the passing portion of the combine, right? When they go routes on air. He has an NFL-level arm. He makes NFL-level throws on film. He has a quick release, too, but his footwork can get sloppy at times, and that'll lead to errant throws. And when you do that too many times, coaches or GMs start worrying about, okay, can this guy be consistent? And one thing with Milroe that I think hurts him is that he'll look at one receiver, and if it's not there, he'll try to take off and run too quickly, right? Just trust your progression, show that you can be a pocket passer, and go through the progression and run the offense that's in front of you. And the other thing he does is he likes to see guys get open. And that means he'll lock on one guy and wait for them to get open instead of throwing them open. And when you get to the NFL, you cannot do that. I had to learn that the hard way. My first offseason in Cleveland, if you're waiting for a guy to get open and then you try to force it, Joe Hayden is ready to pick 6 it and take it to the house, right? You get in trouble that way. So you've got to be able to throw in rhythm. He can show that this Saturday, that he can go back, take 5 steps, 1 hitch, and throw it to his spot. And another thing as a quarterback, when it comes to the combine, you are taught leading up to this is 1 rep, you're going to go to a guy that throws, or you're going to throw to a guy that runs a 4.3, and then the next rep, you're going to throw to a guy that might run a 4.7 or a 4.8. So you need to do your job, and that's put the ball where it needs to be in the right time. And if Milroe can go out and do that and show that he can be a true pocket passer, I think he skyrockets up a draft board come Saturday.
I'm following the same exact narrative that you have, Cody, because the guy that I'm looking at obviously is Riley Leonard, Notre Dame guy. Everything that Cody just said, copy and paste that and put it with Riley Leonard, because he's the exact same quarterback prospect as Jalen Milroe. Now, not as explosive with the run game, but he can run. You saw it all year for the Fighting Irish, his ability to scramble, extend plays, use his legs in crucial situations in the game to help this team win games. I know people talk about the national championship and, he had a rough game. Well, he had a rough half in the first half. Then he comes out in the second half and he starts to respond and he starts to make those plays. So for me, if I'm a general manager, it shows a guy, a quarterback, a leader that can respond to adversity, that he's going to go make the corrections at halftime and come out and play better ball. I look at what he's been doing this offseason. He's been training in Mobile, Alabama with quarterback country. Supposedly there he has a scary arm right now. So I think, just like how Cody said, the throwing aspect, the throwing portion of this combine is going to be really good for Riley Leonard to see how consistent he can be with his accuracies, because throughout the year, he's been a little inconsistent, got better later in the year, but I think the throwing portion is going to be really big for him, because he's going to smash in numbers as far as all the measurables.
One of the important dynamics at the combine is that the workout portion is such a fishbowl. And Peter, I'm hoping you can speak to this, that when those guys walk out on the field, they are being watched by coordinators, by coaches, by scouts, anyone that wants to see how they interact with every single person, the guy that resets the broad jump cones, anything like that. There was a lot of heat last year on Caleb Williams, not sharing his medicals, participating in certain interviews, and then not working on the field. But then he received a glowing review for really being one of the most engaged leaders on the field during the scouting combine weekend. Is there anybody that this is happening to this year, Peter, that we want to watch out for on Saturday? A quarterback that might not be participating, but their body language is really being studied?
Well, I think it's a great point. You can do a lot, even just being here. And that was all Caleb Williams. He was the last person to leave. And I remember him thanking the stadium workers, whether you thought that was for performance art or not. It was noticed that he was there and was cheering on the other quarterbacks and was the last guy to leave the field. I want to see Shedeur Sanders and Cam Ward. If they opt not to work out, I want to see how they interact with the other quarterbacks and also how they interact with all the different people who are working in the events. You can't just be here checking your phone. People notice that stuff. Mm-hmm. So whether you think it's an act or not, be present the entire day and definitely make sure that you go out of your way to pump up the other quarterbacks in the group.
All right, so that group is working out on Saturday. Quarterbacks, wide receivers, running backs. Talked ad nauseum yesterday about the Matthew Stafford situation. It drags on to another day. Is this the type of deal where if the thing goes on longer and longer, that means it's less likely to happen? Or are the Rams just taking their sweet time because they're not busy at the combine because they are one team that never attends?
Yeah, okay, so the question is it more likely Matthew Stafford stays with the Rams the longer this plays out? The truth of the matter is the league year starts in March 12th. You can't even make a trade to March 12th. So the reason everybody's talking about it is because it's the buzz here at the Combine and all the teams are here and the Raiders are here and the Giants are. Guess who's not here? The Rams aren't here. The Rams are out in L.A. and Les Snead's in L.A. And, of course, you've got Sean McVay out in L.A. and so is Matthew Stafford. Here's my latest on everything that's going on there. As I talk to all sides of this, there have been a lot of conversations in the last 24 hours between Sean McVay and Matthew Stafford directly. There is expected to be another conversation today. I would expect the more conversations they have, and it's the two of them. It's not agent talking to this. It's the quarterback and the coach. And the more that they can talk and get on the same ground and kind of finally, the better chance it is that Matthew Stafford returns to the L.A. Rams. I will note this. The money might be different if he goes to the Raiders, goes to the Giants, or goes to Team X than it would be with the Rams. It's almost as if he might have to end up swallowing it and taking for a little bit less to come back with the Rams, other than uprooting his entire life and starting anew and trying to start at 37 with a team that hasn't been to the playoffs in the last couple of years. So I would think the longer this goes on, yeah, I think it actually helps the Rams, but I also think the next 48 hours are going to be very important as far as communication, coming to terms, and seeing whether these guys want to run it back one more year.
Yeah, Schrager, I would talk about communication. It makes sense why that communication between Matt Stafford and Sean McVay has been more consistent than the other teams, because right now we're talking about the combine. There's 31 other teams that are trying to analyze the talent that is coming into the NFL in the 2025 NFL draft. And so I'm not sure if all that attention can be paid solely on Matt Stafford for these other teams. So it's really good for the Rams and their chances of re-signing Matt Stafford that Sean McVay and the Rams aren't in Indianapolis at the combine, but that they have the personal relationship and they have the time now to have those one-on-one conversations, those personal conversations. Obviously, he's been there for a few years, so they know him very well, and I'm sure they would like to make a deal done. So I do agree with you, Peter, that the longer this thing drags out and the more conversations that the Rams can have with Matt Stafford without any distractions of the other 31 teams, I think the chances of him staying in LA increases.
Yeah, I echo both of that. I do believe, though, I think the sooner that the Rams can get this deal done, the quicker they can move on, right, and focus on other areas of their roster. They do have a young, talented roster, one of the most young, talented rosters in the NFL right now. And we saw what Matthew Stafford did with them a year ago, went all the way to the divisional round. And I like what Peter said, too. If you start over at 37, if I'm Matthew Stafford, you don't know what that's going to look like. And the Raiders may come in, who are second in salary cap space right now. They could come in and offer a ton of money to him. You have Pete Carroll, who comes in, right? Who wants to come in, he's hungry, he wants to go out there and win. They can come in and throw a lot of money at him, but is that in his best interest to go over there if he wants to win another Super Bowl? I think the answer is you stay with the Rams, you try to get this thing figured out as quickly as possible, and then you help out this young roster by going and finding some veterans and some better depth and run it back in 2025.
Mm-hmm.
I also think of it from a public relations standpoint here, where Stafford will be taking less with the Rams than he would be making with the Raiders or the Giants. So if any Rams fan was thinking that he was greedy, if he does come back, it's going to be a restructured deal. They'll figure it out, but it won't be the numbers that they would have gotten on the open market. And it's not even an open market. That's the thing. He is under contract with the Rams. So Jimmy Sexton, his agent, is able to talk to these teams, but Stafford directly can't go and meet with the Giants. Stafford directly can't technically go meet with the Raiders. We know about their Montana interaction with Brady, but that wasn't a full meeting with Pete Carroll and with Chip Kelly. He would have to know exactly what he's going into. And I'll add this other part here. Family stuff matters for Stafford. A father of 4 young girls. They are very happy in Los Angeles. You'd like to think they could make this thing work. And if you're the Rams, do you up the money just a little bit? Do you figure it out? Keep your guy happy and let's run it back one more year? Or do you say, let's tear it down now where his stock could be at his all-time high and we could actually get some draft picks and pay some of the young guys in future years?
Yeah, between bringing a Lombardi to L.A. and the Rams' involvement and support of the community with the L.A. fires and the Stafford family direct involvement in that, you can imagine the ties that they now feel to this part of the country. And if it does end up this way, that Stafford runs it back, it should be to no surprise for anybody. Third down. Back to the combine, back to prospects. 2024 Heisman Trophy winner Travis Hunter was asked Thursday about playing both offense and defense full-time in the NFL, and here was his answer.
They say nobody has ever done it for real the way I do it, but I tell them that I'm just different. I'm a different person. But I feel like I'll put my body through a lot. I do a lot of treatment. People don't get to see that part, what I do for my body to make sure I'm 100% each game, but I feel like I can do it because nobody have done it, and I know I can do it. I did it at college level, which the game is, we rarely get breaks, and it's a lot more breaks in the NFL.
All right, you know what's different? This media scrum around Travis Hunter. This is the look from Stacey Dales. This is what this young man is answering and preparing for, because what he's trying to accomplish is an anomaly, Peter. What do you make of Travis Hunter's comments, whether or not you agree with that in the NFL you get more breaks or not? What do you make of Travis Hunter and his approach to trying to play two-way full-time in the NFL?
Travis Hunter averaged 112 snaps a game, not last year, the last 2 years, playing in major college football at Colorado, and he won a Heisman Trophy. And as he said, just because it's never been done doesn't mean I can't. I think Travis Hunter is a top 5 pick. I might go as far as saying Travis Hunter is a top 3 pick. That is how good he's viewed, and we've heard different opinions. You heard Brian Callahan here at the Combine say that, he's a corner. And then you heard Andrew Berry, the GM of the Browns, who has the second pick, saying he's also a wide receiver. You can use him in both places. I like the fact that he's confident in his abilities and wants to be the first to ever do it. I work with Charles Woodson on the weekends for Fox. Charles Woodson obviously had his offensive snaps at Michigan, won a Heisman as a corner. got to the NFL and was used very sparingly in anything but cornerback. I think Travis Hunter looks at himself differently. And I wonder if there's a head coach who says, if I am taking a defensive back or a wide receiver in the top 3, is it not worth it to at least try to see if we can get this guy as much action as we can on the field? Remember, corners and wideouts, they don't go first overall. Keyshawn went first overall. That was in 96. It's the last time we've seen a wide receiver go first overall. We've never seen a corner go first overall, not that I can recall. I'm sure there might have been someone in the 50s or the 60s. But in recent years, you've seen a couple corners go 2. You've seen Jeff Okudah go 3. You see Stingley go 3 from the Texans. But to go 1 or 2, that's so high. I would love it if he was the first one to go both. And I like the fact that he's confident that he can. Let the coaches tell you can't. Don't come in here and say, look, I'm only going to be playing this position. Don't be making any demands. Go in there and compete at every position. I would love to see him compete at both sides in the drills. We'll see if we get that tonight and on Saturday.
Schrager, the narrative has been about the physicality of it. Like the snap count, his treatment, his body's ready for this. My argument with Travis is this. The difference between college and the NFL is mental. That's the mental part. So right now in college, this is the playbook right here. This is how big it is. In the NFL, it looks like this. And if you're going to play both ways, it's going to look like this. So for me, if I'm Travis Hunter, I'd rather limit it to one. Let me master one. I'm not against Travis playing both ways. I am not. What I am against is, as a rookie who's transitioning from college, where the plays, they aren't as elaborate, there aren't as many, and then you're going to go into the NFL game where you're going to have a playbook that is as thick as a Harry Potter series, and you're going to have to memorize that, and then you're going to have to memorize the opposite side of the ball. And oh, by the way, if you do play wide receiver in the NFL game, you have to play multiple positions in wide receiver. You can't just play Z receiver or X receiver. You got to play them all. You got to play the slot. If you can't, a defense is going to know those tendencies. Oh, he only lines up here. He only runs these routes. Then that production doesn't really look the same. So for Travis, play one, master one, and then go throughout the rest and try them out. But I think if you can limit it to one playbook, I think you should be fine.
Yeah, I have no doubt that Travis Hunter can play both sides of the ball in the NFL. It's just the question is to what extent, like Manti said. I think when it comes down to it, he's going to have to pick a position, whether it's play offense and have some packages on defense or play corner and then come in for some packages on offense. But people said he couldn't do it in college, right? They said it wasn't sustainable. They questioned the durability that he would have. And he went out there and proved them wrong. And not only did he do that, he did it at the highest level and won a Heisman Trophy. So I'm not going to sit here and doubt him, but I will say this. It frustrated me a little bit was when Travis Hunter came out and said, you know, I want to play 100% of the snaps. A lot of people looked at it as arrogant, as cocky. He'll learn, like he doesn't understand. Yeah. I saw it as someone that's a competitor and that's willing to do whatever it takes to win football games. And he's going to go to a organization and tell the coach, look, if I need to play 100% of the snaps on both sides of the football, I'm willing to do that. If I have to play 50% of the snaps, I'm willing to do that as well. So when I look at Travis Hunter, I just see a competitor and a kid that wants to win and someone that enjoys playing the game of football on both sides of the ball. And I've said it before and I'll say it again. If you draft Travis Hunter, you are getting 2 players for the price of 1. He is that valuable, and you're immediately making your team better come April.
All right, I'm going to generalize grossly here because I'm not trying to shame any guy that went up against Travis Hunter when he played in college. But there were some highlights I just watched there where the move that Travis Hunter had to make off the line as a wide receiver was about 10% of the effort that he is going to have to do to beat a cornerback in the NFL. These guys are the best of the best at their position. If this young man wants to go and compete on both sides, you think you were dog-tired at the end of a college football game? Like, the emotional, the mental, and the physical demand that this takes, because this is not – you're not going up against some of these schools that you had to go up against. And again, not trying to offend anybody, but some of those beats that he had for like running in for a touchdown, the corner just kind of like stood there after you broke his ankle one time. Like, this is the comeback and the effort on the corners. And frankly, if you're a corner, you're going up against some of the best. You're going up against Justin Jefferson and the Vikings, and you're going to turn around and play wide receiver. That is an insane ask and a demand, Peter, for this young man. I just find it like it's an incredible challenge, an incredible accomplishment at the college level, an incredible challenge in the NFL.
It is, and it's been unprecedented. Like, we don't see it. Chuck Bednarik played both ways in 1960. We saw Deion Sanders catch a few long balls with the Cowboys and have a couple receptions in a Super Bowl. Like, we've seen in spots, but we've never seen someone do it full time the way he's looking to do it. I did speak with one general manager this week here, and I was like, where do you have Hunter? He's like, you could make the argument he's the best corner and he's the best wide receiver in this draft. If that's the case, Jamie, he may be different.
Yeah, and I'm biased. I'm a former quarterback, and I still stand by what I said earlier in the week. I am knocking on my offensive coordinator's door and my GM door the next day after we draft Travis Hunter, saying this is why he needs to play offense, right? And to Manti's point, he said something great there. Very important is if you overload yourself mentally by trying to learn 2 playbooks, and it was very hard. I can't speak on defense, but on offense, it was so difficult when you get there for rookie minicamp to try to learn those plays and then the same day go out there and perform at the best of your ability while all the coaches are watching, right? And your future in that organization is on the line. Now, obviously, he'll be a high draft pick. He's not out there for a tryout basis or any of those things, but I just see it as if he overloads himself mentally, are you going to be great at one position? Or are you going to be, I don't want to say average, but not play it to the best of your ability if you're trying to do too much, especially early on in your career?